Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Just My Opinion. Guys, we are talking Dear Mama, episode 3, titled So Many Tears. Tupac's legal troubles escalate with multiple different arrests in different states, culminating in his being charged with sexual assault in New York. Afeni, the voice of the New York Panther 21, defending herself at trial and shocking the world when the verdict comes down. Tupac's criminal trial comes to a difficult end, directed by Allen Hughes. Guys, if you are liking these videos, if you are liking me recapping this show, please go ahead and give me the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Let me know how you felt about the documentary and my commentary in the comments. But this is another great episode, guys. I saw this one a number of times, and I was just taken aback with how nefarious the FBI was, their whole COINTELPRO, this U.S. government, and it really did shake up the Panthers. I did, of course, hear about this before, but just to go into it with this amount of detail, it just really does paint a picture of how diabolical they were. And one of the gentlemen used that exact phrase in this documentary. But of course, guys, this is going to be spoiler filled. I'm going to spoil it up, down, left, right, in and out as if you've already seen it. That is your warning. But one of the things that really stood out to me in this episode was the trauma that was passed down from Afeni to her son, Tupac. Their lives mimicked each other. Now, they did, in a way, live the same lifestyle, so that may be common sense, but even towards the end of this episode, where they was talking about both of them being on trial and going back and forth, they were in the same courtroom from 1970, 1971, all the way back into the 90s and 93 and 94. I just found that very, very interesting, but they both suffered, and this was a great edited episode. One of the things I liked the most was towards the end, where they were on trial and they just kept going back and forth, switching from Tupac's trial to Afeni's trial to Afeni's trial to Tupac's trial. And sometimes they were using the voice of Afeni, but sometimes using the voice of her sister, Glow. And I just thought that was a great way to tell the story and get the point across. And it was very, very effective. And I'm just sitting here just like, man, hold up. But as you can see, I really did enjoy this episode. This may have been my favorite out of the whole series, out of the whole season so far. It was just really, really impactful, especially talking about COINTELPRO. But before that, just getting to the very beginning of this episode, I liked all the narration from the real life people that are still here today. Mike Tyson, he was throughout this. He is back in this episode. We also just have Snoop Dogg, and I just love his comment talking about, yeah, Tupac was innocent. He was charged with shooting these cops, but he had that military mind, that training from his mother, from all of his surrounding peers. And he was just like, no, because of this, I am going to defend my people no matter what. Bang, bang, bang. And I like that. They even had the Flash come up, and I'm like, oh man, this is just, I'm really getting into this right here. And so making fun of him, or not making fun of him, but laughing with him, saying he was walking out the courtroom like this, all jolly, back and forth. I really did like that. I really did. And as soon as Tupac would escape, one obstacle, another one was thrown at him with a sodomy, rape, assault charge. And that's just horrible. I think I remember hearing about this when I was younger, and no, I don't believe that the man did it. He wasn't accused of that exactly, just setting the woman up, but that's just horrible, man. That's just really, really horrible. I like the fact that he was also able to do, a couple of interviews afterwards. And one of the ladies was like, hey, if you could go back in time, what would you do different? He was like, not close my eyes until she was gone and she was safe and secure and all of that. But that's just a horrible sequence of events of how that happened to him. And I mean, like, wow, to be accused of that. And like, even though I was young at the time, I just didn't ever get that vibe. And I know that's just one thing, but like, he was offended. He was insulted that he would even be charged of that. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, I'm like the nicest guy on the planet, like I will never, disrespect women. And it's, that's just, I can only imagine how horrible of a feeling that was. And this was at the time where he was filming Above the Rim. And that is a movie that I have not seen, maybe a couple of scenes here and there. Like, I did see Juice from front to end a number of times, but Above the Rim, that's still on the list. Will I ever get around to it? I don't know. This documentary may inspire me to do so, but he was filming Above the Rim and also was nominated for a NAACP award. and the rug was taken from under his feet, and he was knocked on his ground. And that really sucks. And I feel bad for him. I really feel sorry for him watching these scenes and just seeing how upset and disappointed he was that he would be accused of this, that he would be charged with these type of allegations. And he felt betrayed. Haitian Jack, he felt betrayed him, and then he just disappeared. But I also like the way they told the story, because later on in this episode, they're talking about how Afeni was betrayed and how those people disappeared too. And it's just like, man, like the same exact thing is happening to both of them. And this is just a lesson that we have to learn. Everybody, I keep saying this every recap, Black people, everybody, study, 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 study. Look at all these events. Look at all the details. It is that important for your development, in my opinion. But you're always going to have your snakes out there. Like Brother Jamal was saying, the Black Panther veteran, that Haitian Jack most likely worked with the police. It may not have been Jamal speaking on this part, but of course it was somebody. But Haitian Jack was possibly working with the police, had a tall rap sheet, but never did that much time. But then they switched over to 20 years ago, 21, 22 years ago, and the Black Panther Party. When the Black Panthers was on trial, they had 13 members on trial. I believe it was October of 1970. And of course, there was multiple trials. But I like how they transitioned to years prior, decades prior, from Tupac being in trial all the way to Afeni and the Black Panthers being in trial as well. This woman did her homework. She studied, and look what she was able to accomplish, saying that she was showing up in the courtroom, dressed head to toe, had her pen, had her pad, and had her mind ready to attack any BS that was thrown her way. And it still shocked them. And this is the most important point where I'm saying we got to start paying attention to all these details and just seeing how far this rabbit hole goes on just how diabolical these people are. But she says that they hired these undercover cops, and one of the security guards by the name of Gene Roberts, he was the security for Malcolm X and took his last breath. And after he died, he wanted to come through and be a Panther and was teaching Jamal how to shoot a gun and how to use a bayonet. But he was an undercover cop, Glow coming in there time, but he was a snitch. And then the other brother, Yahweh Sudan, like taught him all of this stuff, taught little adolescent boys how to slit a throat and doing this and encouraging them to go around shooting people and lynching people if they didn't do this, if they didn't do that. It's like, wow. And I've grown up hearing all of this stuff, but to hear it from the people themselves and how at a loss of words they were, just kind of really opens your eyes. And this information, this history is important. Shout out to that group of people that broke into the office in Pennsylvania and leaked all of these COINTELPRO documents out. But I love how they said they did not know the level of security, of surveillance that the U.S. government, that the FBI, that these undercover cops had on them. Just how nefarious the whole thing was. At one point, the Doc Glow was just saying like, wait a minute now. All this is new to me. I'm learning so much about undercover cops. Like, man, like who does that? Like, you know, this level of security, like, wow, like what type of country is this for you to do just something so horrible? And Jamal was really affected by this too. He was like, when they found all of that out, that all of the beatings, all of the death, losing a family, going to jail, doing time, what was it for? The U.S. government has like unlimited resources compared to the Black Panthers at the time, but I'm still proud of them, man. Like real talk. Woo. Wow. And the brother was saying how they exaggerated stuff. Like he had a phrase called dynamite. Oh, she's dynamite. But they made it seem like he was really talking about dynamite. How they had a certain code word for weed, but they boogie woogie, and they thought that was actually a person. Like that's crazy right there. That's crazy right there. But Black people just, you got to learn from this. It makes sense to why people ask the question. Well, you can always look it up, but like, man, what happened? Why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? Why did we fail here and why did we fail there? Like, do your research. Look at these docs. Read. And that would mess up anybody. That would stop anybody in their tracks if you find out that the people that are teaching you how to fight the system are actually part of the system. But we got to learn, we got to know our history, and we got to make changes accordingly. Like I said in the last recap, study everything, study what made people strong, study what made them weak, etc. But even before that, it was really interesting hearing them talk about Tupac's father. They didn't know if it was Legs or Billy Garland. Billy Garland was a Panther, and I believe in the New Jersey chapter, just assigned to protect Afeni and make sure that she was safe and get her to the court dates. And they had some type of relationship. I don't know exactly how long. They didn't specify that. I don't think it really matters. But that was really interesting when he came back into Tupac's life. Now, going back from the Panthers and them dealing with the trial and them being found not guilty on a number of charges, we flip back to the 90s where Tupac is on trial and he's out of money and he's out of resources and he just does not know what to do, who to trust. And he's stressed out. Gets the offer of $7,500, but goes to the studio. They're waiting on him. He gets shot, unfortunately shoots himself. And his world is spiraling in. And I like how they're going back and forth from the Panthers to Tupac to the Panthers and back to Tupac. He didn't feel like he can trust anybody, and the Panthers went through that 20 years ago with the COINTELPRO. It's really interesting. He did trust Jasmine, though. He did trust Jasmine. Guy went over to the crib, was laid up over there, but these charges kept coming up. And he ended up going to jail for some time. He had over a dozen charges, but was let go of 12 and still caught around 4. And it was horrible. And the way that this episode ended with that track called Tears, ooh, it was nice. I went back and listened to this a number of times. But I did not know the brother was suicidal, though. That he just said, hey, tell, my mother that me and so-and-so, we got away. And he was thinking about killing himself. That's horrible. That's horrible. I don't hate that the brother was thinking that way in some of his last days here on earth. But yeah, this was a really great episode. And it was just really nice to see that gentleman say not guilty over and over and over again for the Panthers back in the 70s. That made me smile ear to ear. And, I'm glad that they got out of there. But the level of betrayal that both Tupac and Afeni and Tupac had to go through is really telling. It's really telling. And we just have to know that we live in that type of society, that these type of people are around us daily, with all the controls, all the levers of different aspects, different segments of society. And unless we increase our education, we're going to continue to be pulled like puppets, like little dolls that have no control over anything. And that's not right. That's not right. We need justice. It's going to take a lifetime or two to get it all done. But when you watch things like this, it really is inspiring, to say the least. When Afeni was in jail, she talked about how she had a number of miscarriages, but Tupac just wouldn't die. And it shows in this documentary that, God really wanted him to be on this earth, even though it was just for a short amount of time. But guys, this was a great episode. Let me know what you thought about the episode. Let me know what you thought about my commentary. This is So Many Tears, and I cannot wait to talk about the rest of the season, especially episode 4 with you guys. It is going down. But guys, I just want to thank you so much for tuning in. That is just my opinion. If you did like the video, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, helping me reach that next milestone of 50,000 subscribers. If you do, you're going to get all of this right here: movie reviews, spoiler movie reviews, series reviews, a weekly movie news roundup show, and just me covering a number of the shows streaming right now on all of these platforms, trailer reactions, and a couple of interviews. But guys, again, I just want to thank you so much for tuning in. And before you go, don't forget that my name is Brandon Keith Avery, and that's just my opinion. Peace.